Good evening and salutations, my GH fans. So, there is a conversation between Dante and Christina that was pretty interesting. And it's interesting because you remember way back when Sonny shot Dante and, he didn't press charges, and it was because he didn't want to sit there. There was a couple of reasons why, right? But one of the things was he didn't want to sit there and, I guess, take, you know, um, Sonny away from his children, away from Michael and Morgan and Christina and everyone. But that wasn't the only reason why. There's a point where they're talking and, they bring up the shooting because Christina, it was still sitting there thinking, oh, well, he only shot you by accident. It wasn't, he didn't intentionally try to kill you and stuff. Because that's what he told in his report. That's the whole court thing happened. But he also did it for himself. He said it was very hard growing up as a child without having a father in his life. So after he woke up and Lulu was like, yeah, you have a father, he also did it because he didn't want his father to go to jail. He wanted to protect his dad. So I thought that part of the conversation was interesting. I don't understand. Molly runs into Blaze, and Molly's like, listen, how's Christina doing and everything like that, and somehow it gets to a point where I think she's, because she's worried and stuff. And, Blaze is kind of hinting that something's going on, but she's like, listen, that's something that, she'll tell you. It's not my story to tell, she'll tell you. She's kind of in a fragile place right now. And then Molly said, well, if she's so much in a fragile place, I don't want to sit there and talk to her because then it's going to come across as me interrogating her, so you must tell me. And so she does, but then when she runs into Jocelyn, she's like, oh, I let it slip. I was like, you didn't let it slip. You just said it. Like, in all reality, it wasn't really that hard. You could just be like, no, I don't feel comfortable. And I don't feel comfortable you put me in that position where I have to betray our trust. So it wasn't like a slip of the tongue. It was just, you folded, and there was really no reason to. Now, Sam is not there talking to Christina about the whole incident, about how she's not saying anything, and just asking how she's doing. And, Sam being like, hey, listen, you're going to do the right thing regardless of, I guess, how you feel about your father. It wasn't really too understood. It was almost like she was just like, hey, listen, if you gotta sit there and tell him Sonny, just do it. Because at the end of the day, it's about you, how you're feeling, how the baby it is, and everything like that. Alexis comes in. After they talk about Gregory, they talk about the, how the law license is going. One of the things that she says is, the person who turned her in was Ava. And I think Molly says something along the lines of, well, she practically is the one that got, your law license taken away. And I'm just like, no. No. It was Alexis's fault for perjuring herself that got her law license taken away. And it's like, I get it. That's their mom. So they're going to be like, well, listen, it's not your fault. And they're going to sit there and fight for her and everything. But it's just this lack of accountability that's just like staggering. Just absolutely staggering. It was the same thing with Carly's family. Oh, it was Nina's fault. Nina caused all this. No, it was Carly's fault because she's the one that actually committed the crime. If there was no evidence, then there will be no problem. I don't really understand how that just goes over most people's heads. It's staggering. It really is. I think it's mostly just based off of 9 times out of 10 emotion. You don't like Nina, so it's Nina's fault. You don't like Ava, so it's Ava's fault. That's not how that works, though. Regardless if you like somebody or not, you have to sit there and use logic to sit there and kind of. Anyway, so you got that going on. Jocelyn runs into Sonny, and Jocelyn pretty much kind of just lays into him. Now, this is the point where I look at the situation and everything that she's saying is 100% correct. You know, about what he did to Dex, about why he's not in jail because Dex is not. They're not doing this for you, but doing this for Christina. The family that you are just so casually tossing aside, and Michael, aka Judas, that you just renounced as your once favorite. Now, we all know that he's doing a lot of this stuff because his meds are being messed with. But meds and no meds, he was always doing this stuff. If it wasn't towards Dex, it was towards somebody else. You know? And Johnson was never an idiot in a sense of, yeah, she knew. And it's the same thing with Christina, you know? And I just don't really understand why they're writing her this way. It's like, Jocelyn talks about, well, you were always supportive, you was always this, you was always that, you was always like, kind of a stand-up guy. But you knew he was also in the mob. So regardless of all the stuff that he was doing, all the good stuff that he brung for you and your mom and everything, he was also still hurting people. So part of it is just like, as long as it was benefiting y'all were cool with it. Oh, he's Sonny, he's Uncle Sonny, he's my loving father that, really believes in me and everything like that. Cool. He was also hurting a lot of people too. But until you saw it or until it affected you directly, it didn't really matter. Um, Now Dante has a conversation with Dex, and Dex lists out his reasons of why he's not pressing charges. One, Christina. Two, he'll get like maybe what, a year, 2 years max, and he'll get dragged through the mud. And Sonny will still most likely keep his operation going, and of course, there's a good chance that Sonny will sit there and have Dex, killed. So he pretty much is like the risk outweighs the rewards. But then what's the difference if he's running his operation in 2 years and if he's running his operation in 20 years, 30 years? And he'll still sit there and try to have you killed. So when you think about it in that logic, why not just press charges now? What's the difference between 2 years and 30 years? He's still off the streets, and um, allegedly it'll make Port Charles a safer place. So I don't really, I'm not really understanding the length of time. Is it going to be that much if he already laid it out that he's still going to be running his operation? Now, Dex also has a conversation with Sonny. And, when he sees Sonny, he's like, listen, if this is an ambush, then I'm not going to go down lightly. First of all, you just see one person. Second of all, again, and I said this in my review yesterday, you seem to say you're not going to take this down lightly. Then why did you not fight back before? What's the difference now? But Sonny pretty much says it's over, it's done. You didn't press charges regardless of whatever the reason is. And so, as far as I'm concerned, it's done. But he does warn him, like, you're not going to be, you're not on my radar, so let's just make sure you keep it that way. Oh, and just a little other side note. While Blaze is not there talking to Joss, in the beginning she was like, I thought she was kind of out of line when it came to her Sonny, but I can see what you're sitting there talking about now. And part of me was like, she was like, well, you're right about Sonny, and I'm like, for even to sit there and say that, well, I thought you were just kind of out of pocket, boo, you just coming into this family, you just finding out who this Sonny guy is. So for you even to sit there and say, well, at one point I thought you was out of pocket, it's like, no, boo, the only person who's out of pocket in the situation is you. Now, Jocelyn says that she does feel bad for Sonny as far as the blinders being off. Um, I don't know why. She was very adamant before about, you need to sit there and see Sonny for the way he is, not just, oh, the sweet, innocent, doting father. So I don't understand what's with the 180 about that, but whatever. Now, I think the last scene is with Maxie and Spinelli. Kids want Spinelli to move back in, and Felice is like, let's go for ice cream or whatever. And Maxie's like, hey, listen, I want you to move back in. I overreacted before, which is true, but I want you to move back in now. And at first, Spinelli's like, oh, and there's actually another scene after that. Just thought about it. At first, Spinelli's like, hey, listen, if I move back in, are we just going to be roommates or we're going to be more? And he actually declined at first because he wanted more. But then Maxie's like, let's just take it slow and just kind of just, you know, see where it goes. And then Spinelli's like, oh, okay, cool. I'll wait as long as it takes. So he agrees to move back in. But the whole, no, I can't do it because, I want more to literally under 10 minutes being like, nah, it's cool. I'll move back in. We'll just take it slow. We'll go at your pace. It's like, was it really necessary if you were just going to get to that point anyway? Okay, now the last scene is with Drew talking to Willow about running for congressman, and Willow's like, yeah, let's do it. I think you should really do it. And Michael coming in and being like, yeah, I'm going to sit there and keep it real with you. This ain't good for Aurora at this point. He's being practical. He's being realistic. He's like, you're gonna have to sit there and split your time. Curtis is still new at this job. We're just recovering from the whole SEC thing or whatever, and there's gonna be a bunch of mudslinging. And so he's like, long story short, you have a lot more to lose than the game, and if you don't win, then the business suffers. Willow is she's hella high idealistic. She's all like, well, it's good for everyone. And then she's like, well, Michael, you can sit there and handle it for a little bit. You'll be fine. And, as far as the mudslinging, um, she tries to put all these positive spins in it. And then they both just agree, yeah, we should totally do it. I'm not saying she's wrong, but I'm like, for her to sit there and say, well, Michael, you can sit there and handle it. It's like, how do you know that? Most of the last business that you actually ran, did you not actually hear what he said? As far as the company is still recovering. And yeah, I mean, he can probably handle it, but those were some valid points. But Willow's all super idealistic and there's just like, oh no, everything's just going to work out fine. Okay, sure. I don't know how I feel about that. I was like, Bo, you were a teacher and then you were a nurse. You know nothing about business and you're coming in with all these happy ideas. And I'm not saying that those aren't good points, but I'm pretty sure he knows that he's talking about more than whatever somewhat fantasies and delusions that you're sitting there saying. But okay, Willow, you know what's best, and yeah, let's just sit there and listen to her. Okay, cool. Also, Molly's not there worried about Christina, the baby, the stress, and everything. And she is trying to find a balance. She's really caught up in the middle because she doesn't want to sit there and hover, but she doesn't want to sit there and stay silent. And then she's like, well, if I tell TJ, then he's going to sit there and be going up in Christina's face. And she's like, well, what am I going to do? And I'm kind of just like, well, what you should have did in hindsight was just sit there and say no towards her being your surrogate. And then you wouldn't have to sit there and be in this whole giant cluster F. But here we are, so it is what it is. And that's pretty much what Alexa said. Alexa's like, hey, listen, just take it day by day. Gotta be calm and let me sit there and help you out. Even though they didn't want it in the beginning, even though she felt like it was a bad idea from jump, and no one bothered to sit there and listen to Alexis when she was right, here we are because this made sense to them. And I feel like that's about it. It might be a little bit more. Come to the live stream tonight, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. We'll sit there and talk about all the shows, General Hospital, Days of Our Lives, Born to Beautiful, Young, and Restless. With that being said, I'm going to go. I'll see you in the next video.